CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
A former Liberal MLA who left the party to join the Conservatives is now wading into the lawsuit filed against the province over the BC rail scandal. Former Solicitor General John Van Dongen filed an application today for intervener status in the lawsuit. The motion, which was filed by the Auditor General John Doyle, is seeking the right to see all of the evidence regarding the $6 million that the province paid covering the defense costs for Dave Bazzi and Bobby Verk.
I was taken aback by the decisions and the announcement at the time and took immediate steps to understand the reasons why and try and get some accountability and transparency around it, and never got that. There's been a pattern of resistance to accountability and disclosure on this decision right from the start.
In due course, this complete transaction will have been reviewed by the Auditor General. All of the materials for his review have been provided to him.
The province paid $6 million covering the legal fees for Bazzi and Verk, former ministerial staffers who admitted leaking government secrets involving the sale of BC Rail a decade ago. British Columbia today formally offered an apology to the Japanese-Canadian community for the internment of thousands of people during the Second World War. North Vancouver MLA Naomi Yamamoto's parents were two of the 22,000 who were placed in internment camps. She says the apology might have been a long time coming, but is much appreciated today.
The conditions were harsh, and the feeling of being uprooted from your family home and having your possessions taken away from you, it was a lingering sentiment that I absorbed, and I think that 70 years is long enough time to wait for an apology from the provincial government and from both sides of the House.
Yamamoto says that her parents were never bitter about their internment. Her 85-year-old father was seated in the legislature today for the apology. Not a single Japanese Canadian was ever charged with an act of disloyalty. Yamamoto says it's important to apologize and work to ensure such an historical injustice is never forgotten and never repeated. Good evening. Thanks for being here. We begin this hour in Saanich, where a man is in custody and a neighborhood is breathing a sigh of relief after police busted a suspected clandestine drug lab.
Mom, wish you're dead!
CTV News cameras were there as police brought a suspect out of the home. Officers closed in on the house on Casa Mercia Crescent just before 2 this afternoon with reports of suspicious activity. As Saanich police entered the home, they discovered what they say is an alleged cooking operation for drugs. Police said they could smell something burning inside the home, but it dissipated. Officers called in the emergency response team for additional help. A man who was in the home tried to flee the scene, allegedly setting a garbage can on fire before he left.
All's well that ends well. At this point in time, the suspect did give himself up after a telephone conversation with our patrol supervisor for this district. He gave himself up without incident and was safely escorted away from the scene here. The concerns now are that there's potential hazards to the occupants or even the neighborhood and to our officers, which is why we have the Saanich Fire Department on scene here to conduct an assessment and make sure that the environment is safe for our officers to enter and conduct an investigation.
Homes nearby on Casa Mercia were evacuated. We're told that officers in hazmat suits have just left the home and the operation is wrapping up. No word yet on charges against the suspect. The Harley Davidson motorcycle that washed up on Haida Gwaii is now gearing up to head back home to Japan. The bike was swept up in the tsunami last year and washed up on Graham Island. It's now in Victoria, ready to be shipped back. The bike arrived in the capital area yesterday. Thanks to Harley Davidson, the motorcycle is being restored at a dealership in Japan free of charge and will be returned to its original owner. The Harley dealership on the island says it's the least it can do after the owner of the bike lost all of his family.
When I saw this motorcycle laying up there, I thought, you know, somebody owns that bike and would really feel for it, and they would really make their day that if somebody like us got together and took what you see here and brought it back to life. And, you know, considering what the individual's been through, for what I heard, losing his family members' home, all his belongings and stuff, I thought, you know, in my own humble way, it's probably the least that we could do is try to restructure his bike and get it back to him.
The owner of the motorcycle was found because the original license plate was still on the bike. An update now on a story CTV News brought you last week. RCMP say a turf war in the Cowichan Valley was the result of a business deal that went wrong. Shawnigan Lake RCMP say a person has come forward and has admitted they're the ones who dumped 3 loads of dirt on a neighbor's driveway following a business disagreement with the homeowner. The dirt piles contained assorted debris, including road salt, bits of asphalt, and other organic products. RCMP say the dirt came from the Shawnigan Lake area, not from the Greater Victoria region. The person who dumped the soil and the homeowners have reached an agreement. People in the area have been concerned about what they say is the dumping of contaminated soil in their community. A group supporting StopSmartMeters.com will visit the provincial health officer on Wednesday and will hand-deliver articles and studies that it says shows that the smart meters are harmful. They relate to research into the biological effects of exposure to electromagnetic radiation. The Nanaimo Port Authority has launched a strategic plan for upgrading infrastructure along the city's waterfront. The long-term business strategy is called Path 2025. It'll address the need for commercial and transportation upgrades to the port's Assembly Wharf, downtown Marina, and 28 hectares of land near Duke Point. Over the next decade, the port hopes to establish a vibrant economic community along what they call Nanaimo's underutilized waterfront.
The Port Authority worked very hard over the last couple of years to create our cruise facility. The project is over. We're working hard with the cruise carriers to get more business. But the port now is looking at utilizing their assets to the fullest. And we have 35 acres here at the Assembly Wharf, which is underutilized. And we have 70 acres over at Duke Point, which has quite a bit of capacity available. So the Port Authority is taking steps to aggressively look at these facilities and to secure new business opportunities.
The Port Authority says details of its plan for Nanaimo's Marina will be made public over the next few months. And if you were in downtown Nanaimo at any point on Saturday, you likely saw a lot of maps and cameras and visitors who are glad to be there. More than 2,000 tourists from the Norwegian Pearl cruise ship roamed the Harbour City waterfront as well as Commercial Street and the city's old quarter. The Nanaimo Port Authority anticipated the cruise ship would inject nearly $200,000 into the local economy. And so far, the feedback from business has been overwhelmingly positive.
Calls are coming in this morning, and we're hearing that we're hearing a lot of positive feedback from the businesses. One business in particular has let us know that they sold half their inventory on Saturday. We've actually been at this for a few years now, and we're getting quite good at it. I think that the feedback from the cruise passengers themselves tell us that they just love our city.
Nanaimo would like to see more. The next scheduled cruise ship to dock in the Harbour City is the ship The World. That'll arrive in mid-July. Well, it may have ruffled more than just a few feathers after pictures of an octopus snatching up a seagull made headlines last week. Now the shoe is on the other foot, or is it the other 8? A hungry bald eagle spotted a tasty snack on Denman Island and wasn't about to let it swim away. Wayne Duke from Parksville snapped these photos after he saw the eagle land in a tidal pool. Duke says he was shocked as the struggle ensued between the big bird and the big octopus.
It was quite an adventure to stand there and watch it. It was my own personal show. There was nobody else around. Anyway, when it was all said and done, and after analyzing the situation, I considered it a draw. The eagle was totally exhausted. The octopus was doing everything it could just to escape and get back into a crevice. It had no water to work with to speak of being in a tidal pool.
That's a problem when you're an octopus, but it was able to escape alive. It stayed in a crevice until the tide came back in and swept him away. At that point, the eagle had given up.